was Jonah Hex. Um,
That's that's a cowboy movie.
that is absolutely cowboy. It's also a DC movie, and it's funny because it's not the movie. It's not the movie that began this, but it's one of the movies that began this because we used to do many years ago. We had a YouTube internet review show, and this was one of the episodes we did where we talked about it, and
Good times.
there's some poorly aged jokes in there. I will tell you that. But what's interesting is I was in my 20s. And I was really bad at articulating my opinions on movies. But in not so many words, I had an issue with the sound design. I thought the sound design was bad, and my biggest beef was
It wasn't
it's
long enough.
it's too
You didn't
short.
like you didn't like how short it was for some
I
reason.
didn't like how short it
Uh,
was.
What's it like to go through life with a face like that? Let me show you.
So yeah, the last thing I thought was that it was too short, and I had this idea in my head that all movies needed to be at least 90 minutes. Every movie should be at least 90 minutes, and I don't know if it's because I've watched enough 3-hour slog fests in the past 2 years, but man, a nice tight 80-minute movie was a refreshing breath of fresh air. But John, the ultimate question is, did I change my mind? Do I now love Jonah Hex? You're probably wondering right now.
right, did you? Is it more importantly, Justin, was it long enough for you?
No, I hated this movie. It was bad. It was awful. It wasn't good. It was not a good movie. It was
But
very bad.
but but was it long enough for you?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't long enough. And not because I think movies should be 90 minutes, but because this movie, like, okay, it's not long enough and the sound design is bad. Like, at points, the action sequences are so loud that you can't hear dialogue. Megan Fox is saying dialogue and you can't hear a word she's saying. You're like, what? What? And like they do this animated section which we brought up in our original review, and that just kind of papers over his backstory, which is just kind of like he was a Confederate soldier, bad guy, not because he believed in slavery or but he just didn't like being told what to do, so he joined the Confederate, bad guy. Um, and he for reasons that you find out later in the film, because he killed the bad guy's son. The bad guy shows up and kills his family and brands him with his brand, and then just leaves. And then he nearly dies, and he somehow develops the ability to talk to the dead. And when he talks to the dead, when he touches people, they come back to life, and he can talk to them. But if he touches them for too long, they turn to sand.
As one does.
and and the bad guy is a terrorist. He's an early terrorist, and he wants to blow up America. And you find out later on the reason why he killed the bad guy's son was because the bad guy's son was attacking him, and Jonah Hex was trying to stop the bad guy from blowing up a hospital.
As one does.
And it's just a very very bad movie. Jonah Hex is wearing the Josh Brolin is wearing a prosthetic, so he just mumbles for like 90% of it. Megan Fox is a bad actress. All of her acting is wooden as fucking hell. Um, John Malkovich is in this movie for some reason, and he's the bad guy. What's his face? Magneto.
Oh,
Not old Magneto. Michael Fassbender. Michael Fassbender is like in it, and he's just like comedically evil. He's this Irish guy who has face tattoos, and he's just there for some reason. And it's funny because there's a lot of setup for what I'm guessing is supposed to be his back. So at the end of it, he's beating the bad guy, and the president gives him this badge. He's like, "You could be America's sheriff," and then he pauses in a way that feels like it's once again a reference to like maybe in the comic books he was like America's sheriff, and that was like his title, because he was clearly like a comic book superhero who had superpowers. So I'm guessing he was like America's sheriff, and that was his superhero name. I guess, I don't know. This movie's not exceptionally clear about it. But my goodness, yeah, it wasn't a good western. It's not a good superhero movie. It's just a bad movie. It's a bad movie that I kept trying to be like, maybe it's not that bad. No, it's bad. It's bad, Jordan.
Just bad.